Welcome back to the Mediocre Alaskan Podcast. It's getting toward the end of the year here. It's December 13th. I'm here with my wife. We're going to record an episode and kind of give you the plan for the rest of the year. Got 2 episodes coming up that'll be fresh, and then close out the year with kind of a best of 2021. 2 of the best podcasts I think most listened to. Super interesting. That'll be available the last week, as my wife and I will be headed to San Diego and then to Tucson for Christmas. So that'll be nice to get out of state a little bit. So I guess since we're doing a end of the year recap, even though it's not quite the end of the year yet, I'm not sure there's going to be too many hunting or fishing highlights in the next 2 weeks. So I know it was kind of the highlight. Obviously the wedding was the highlight of our life. But what about hunting highlight?
Hunting highlight? Well, I only killed 1 big game animal this year, so I mean, even though there's lots of things that you enjoy about hunting, the goal is to harvest an animal, so the highlight would have to be the mule deer, and it was a pretty awesome mule deer, so that might be the highlight for the past few years.
Yeah. What about, you caught a massive rainbow on the Kenai.
Yeah.
But it wasn't with the fly rod.
Yeah.
So would having that big bull elk encounter but not getting a shot, was that still better than mega trout that wasn't on the fly?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you catch a trout that big, it's cool. But, you know, I mean, I didn't choose the spinner. I don't even remember what I even caught it on. Like, you know, the guide set it or he set up the rod. I did cast it out and whatever, but then, you know, we were sitting there eating our lunch and then started flapping around and he was like, reel it in. And I was like, oh yeah. So, I mean, I caught it technically, but you don't feel that ownership or that pride, I guess, when you know that you wouldn't have caught that fish on your own.
Yeah. And he was using, I don't know what they're, I've seen him a lot with like bass fishing, so that was kind of weird to just see that be used in that they were back trolling. So it was just interesting to see just that program. The program was super bizarre, but it was an awesome fish. It was cool to see that. And you got some really nice ones on the fly, which was cool. We both did, so that was kind of fun. I don't know. That was I've never had a guided trip go like that where it was just I don't know.
I mean, it was fun. You know, on a guided trip, you always learn something, and that's what you want. Like, that's why you're paying the guide to learn, right? But, I don't know. Sorry, what were you going to say? I interrupted.
I think it was different, too, because just like you said, you go with the guide to learn some stuff, but then you want to be able to apply those things on your own. So you get the guide for a half day early on in the trip. That way you can apply the stuff that you learned. But what we learned, I think, primarily was that if you don't have a guide or have your own boat, you're not fishing the Kenai. Like, you can fish some of those areas, and there are some public access areas where you can get into some reds or whatnot. But just as far as like the best fishing, and if you want a good chance at what the river holds and the river is famous for, you have to have a guide because there's just too much private land, or you have to have a boat. And I put a little marker where we were fishing and just thought, hey, let's just hike in and we can get here. But it was not happening. Just not happening. That was really unfortunate. That was kind of disappointing. So not only was the trip kind of interesting, he was fine. He definitely was not into us fly fishing, which was funny.
Yeah.
He shied away from what we wanted. We say we want King's Kasilof, and if he would have just explained to us, hey, here's the deal. We can go King's on the Kasilof. I'm gonna have to row, but your chances are low. Or we can go Kenai for, I don't know. I don't know if he would have been more straight up.
Yeah. Well, so getting kind of back to what you were saying about, you know, you hope that you learn something, then you can go back and we can go back to that spot. What about that spot where we hiked in quite a ways and we fished it for, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes and then you broke your rod tip? And we ended up leaving.
Yeah.
If we had stayed at that place, I mean, I felt like we had a good chance at fish there, but it just didn't work out for us.
Yeah, and that was on the upper part.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely a chance. That's where you hooked the sockeye, and there were definitely a bunch of sockeye that were just, yeah, they just kind of got away from us. Me breaking the rod tip was terrible. Yeah, I think we could have posted up in that spot and fished that run for a little while.
Yeah, the bugs were terrible too. That's why I was
that's right.
I wasn't that sad about leaving.
Yeah,
But
and it was pretty swift, and it's just hard to wade, and it's hard to tell too how deep that thing is. And when you're not used to the river, there are a couple of spots where the current just kind of deposits fine sand or silt, and you just kind of shuffle your feet. And you kind of feel with your toe that it drops off a little bit, and you think, all right, well, maybe there's a bottom. And then before you can't commit to that because you could be parachuting downriver at that point. So not knowing the river, it's nice to err on the side of caution. But yeah, I think we probably could have picked up some fish there. However, with the amount of bear sign that we saw, most of it, I don't know, it seemed to be black bear, but who knows? That would have been interesting carrying a sockeye back that far. Russian River, I would have had no problem because there's so many stinking people around. But that area there was not a lot of people around. And it's just a lot of very thick foliage to be carrying fish through. And what was it? A week after we were gone, someone got attacked by bears. A different sort of area, but definitely there was...
It was on that trail, right?
It was either that one or the...
Oh, no, it was the other hike that we did.
Euclidna?
No.
I always say
Skilak.
Skilak. I always say Euclidna.
Yeah, that's like your go-to.
I say it so many times, I think, no, this is right because the other one, yeah. So, just a different feeling. Growing up on the Klawak River, just black bears, you just get used to them. So, a totally different feeling to be around brown bears, potentially.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone gets used to being around brown bears.
Oh, unless you're Timothy Treadwell.
I shouldn't laugh at that.
That's a different story.
Yeah.
So it was fun. I really liked it. That was fun to do that. I'm now that we haven't been there for a little while, I think it would be kind of cool to maybe go up there again at some point.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because we know what to expect. We kind of know how things work, and we were looking at one of those lakes that was supposed to have grayling. Didn't find any grayling. It was pretty cold. What was the cold and windy? Oh, and there was a couple like little creeks that were running into that where we thought this is absolutely going to be where the fish are, but there's just nothing holding. It was super, super cold. Maybe it was early, but there was no. Maybe it was. I don't know. What was it? Because we were there in mid-June. Yeah,
I mean, I think part of it is probably it was a big lake and we didn't necessarily fish all the spots he could have fished, so we might have missed the good spot, but. I don't know. To me, I think just with that trip, there's a lot of things that we kind of left unfinished or that are still kind of intriguing because, we didn't catch a king. We didn't.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun fishing on the Kenai by ourselves too. Even though we didn't catch massive fish, it was still just, we'd catch a bunch of fish in quick succession and then nothing. And you're like, what? I thought I had it. What's going on?
Yeah.
So
the spot it's like the last takeout spot before you get to the really swift water on the upper Kenai. I don't know what that pullout was called, but just walking down a little bit, waiting. We found a couple nice little pockets and caught some fish, and it was pretty fun. You feel like you figure something out, and you feel like you're pretty alone. There was at one time we came around to go to that spot, and there was 3 or 4 people that didn't really look like they knew what they were doing, or maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
They were like sitting in chairs, like kind of taking up space, and like when we walked up, a couple of them got up to make it look like they were fishing it, but it was just didn't really seem like.
No.
Yeah, it was just weird. But, what was your highlight? What was your hunting highlight of the year? Then what was your fishing highlight?
Hunting highlight was the blacktail with you up in the Alpine. That was awesome. Just a sweet buck. a goat hunt turned blacktail hunt. It was I'm still just hiking all the way back in there. I talked about this. I don't know if it was last podcast, the podcast before, just being so paranoid about what happens if someone's back there.
Yeah.
And I started worrying about it. Like all summer, I was thinking about it, and we even had a little bit of an argument about what's going to happen if someone's there. I'm like, well, I can't just like walk past someone's camp up this ridge to hunt, and we won't know if someone's up there for 6 miles of hiking. But so it ended up being fine. Got back there, and to pass up 2 4 points. Like, okay, we're here for goats. Let's just take these 2 awesome deer and let them sit for a little bit. And yeah, just that it was just rocky and too steep, and just I could not see a line up. And with so much fog going in and out, we'd get glimpses for 2, 3, 4 seconds. Sometimes it would kind of open up. You'd have about 15. So by the time you kind of picture your route that might be safe, and you think, all right, well, what if we do go up there? What if we get to the other side? What if we do get a mountain goat and it falls down somewhere? Like, would we be able to retrieve it? Like, it's super steep, and then we're in the fog, and then how do we get back down this thing? Like, who knows?
Yeah, so. It was super sketchy. But if we had seen a goat up there, if it had been clear, we could see a goat way on the other side probably. Were we going to go after it and shoot it and just work it out? Or, like, were we going to walk away from a goat?
Well, I don't think we would have seen, like, based on what we were seeing, it would have had to been pretty close. And so if the hike back to camp, if you know 7/8 of it, like you know what to expect, then we're good to go. But if it would have cleared for 20 minutes and then we would have seen something way over and we don't really know what's between here and there,
yeah, I mean,
that would have been a tough decision, because you can kind of sense that you're in a sucker hole. You can kind of tell that it's socked in. In the afternoons when it really clears, it like really clears and it lifts, and so you can see that, okay, it's going to be cloudy, but it's going to be high ceiling. I don't know. Who knows in those situations? If you would have told me a couple years ago that we'd walk past 2 nice bucks like that, I'd be like, really? Why do I think that I've ascended to such a spot? But it was a goat hunt.
I think if I saw a goat, I'd have a hard time. I'd at least try to get in position on it. Yeah. And the hard part, I guess, is making that call about, is it in a spot where it's not going to fall? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think had we seen one, I think we would have really looked at that, and maybe rather than look at going up that, get on the ridge and go, maybe try more of a side hill type thing. We would have had to pick through a lot of brush, and it would have been really sketchy. But sometimes that buckbrush it's not easy to move through, but at least you have something to hang on to.
Yeah.
So you're not thinking about falling 30, 40 feet on rock.
For sure.
I think that would have been the thing. We probably would have side hilled it around and then got the ridge eventually rather than going up that face, which definitely would have been the plan. I think that would have came to mind a little bit earlier if we could see kind of how that side hill would have worked. It would have revealed itself, but it was pretty tough. So
yeah, I just have a hard time envisioning ever getting a mountain goat in like a safe location, I guess. It's in those decisions, like 1 or 2% either way is like, oh, we got the goat and it was dandy, versus like, oh, Abby fell and broke her leg, and it's just, it's so, but
I guess I was a little bit spoiled. Actually, no, I'm spoiled. The first goat hunt I went on just to pack, I hiked up a buddy drew, actually, a buddy of mine was packing for a guy he knew who drew it and invited me along. And after school on a Friday, I hiked up the mountain, met him. It was about a 6-mile hike. Met him at camp. Next morning, glassed up some goats, like right from camp.
Yeah.
And then started kind of making our move around this bowl. And then, like, they were glassing it, and it's there's some world-class genetics there. And so they were looking at it, and it was crazy just to see with those spotting scopes, just like I had these old pair of Bushnells, so I felt super insecure. But they had these nice spotting scopes, and like, is that 9.5 or is it 10, 10.5? how could you're talking about 1 inch from 500-600 yards. And so we decided to go after it and happened to be able to go past an exposed way, and it looked like it was a sheer rock cliff, but took the rangefinder and ranged the mountain goat and then ranged the bottom of what looked like the sheer cliff. And we figured out that because the bottom was so much closer, the bottom of the cliff was so much closer than the mountain goat was, that it wasn't like a right angle. Like there was definitely, it was not nearly as steep as it looked when you're looking straight on. So we were able to sneak down like pretty much right in front of it and got underneath where it was bedded, and because it was just kind of sleeping, and then got it, and then we're able to just walk right up the rock to it. Easy, beautiful day, sunny. Got it back to camp. It was about 2-3 o'clock, and then thought, well, let's just stay another night. Might as well. Weather's good, so we just hung out, ate food. I mean, that's not a mountain goat hunt. Like that's a that was crazy. So I know that's out there, but now I guess I'm paying for it now, because even though I didn't get that one, I was on a hunt that was that easy, and things like that have not happened since.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've seen mountain goats in town. If you hike certain trails, there's goats there, and if you're lucky enough to draw a tag, then yeah it is that easy. But
Slam dunk.
Yeah, that's, I'd say for next year, it's kind of always been number one on our list, and we just keep hiking up different areas and learning about.
Yeah, it's never gonna happen. I don't think I'm gonna have to do an over the counter, get back somewhere, which is fine. It's an adventure too. But
yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about, we have been trying to get back places, and even when, someone maybe gives you a tip that there's a goat, or they've seen goats in a certain place, and you kind of scout it on the map, you're like, yeah, we could get up there, whatever. It always ends up being harder, or there's like always some kind of, I don't know, like.
Yeah, at least a few times it's been weather too. Like you just need a nice window to be able to get there, because then you can kind of see where you're at. And if you've been up there with someone, it makes a big difference about, hey, I know this spot. We can get around this way, or we can do that. When you're learning the mountain, when you're on it for the first time, that can be kind of tough. But so I think best definitely was the blacktail. It was fun. Great hunt with you, and the Wyoming hunt was a lot of fun. It's just so different. It was super frustrating at times, but we had good food and got some weather, put in a ton of miles, and then to get that nice mule deer was super nice.
Yeah.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
And as far as fishing goes, there's some fun. There's not like one fish that really, really stands out. There are some nice ones on the Kenai, but that's kind of what you expect. If you're getting 18, 20 inches on the Kenai, it's like, well, that's a really nice fish, but compared to the 30 inches that you could get, it's a decent fish. On that lake in Wyoming where we're getting the golden trout, that was super cool.
That was so fun.
Getting in there with Adam, and going back to what you were saying about fishing that lake on the Kenai Peninsula for rainbows and possibly grayling. You spend some time at some of these inlets that look like it's going to be the best spot to find them. But if you don't find them there, like, how much do you move? Do you just kind of drive by fish? And then we kind of had that at a spot where we found the goldens, that the outlet of that lake seemed like a really good spot. But then we thought, man, well, what if there's supposed to be some really, really big fish. So we're kind of messing around with these smaller fish, and it's fun. But do we take advantage of the fact that we're back here, however many, 12 miles back in there? Like, do we take advantage of the fact that we're here to go for just behemoth, since we both caught a couple? Like, or do you just have fun, enjoy it for what it is, and hope that you're back there, or hope that there's some massive one that's hiding underneath a rock?
Yeah, that was tough too, because it's such a shallow lake where the fish were hanging out that you could see where the bigger fish were. You could see some really big fish sometimes, but you could see that your fly wasn't moving them at all. So then it was like, do I stay here and fish for this fish who knows I'm here? Probably.
Yeah.
Or do I keep hiking back in and hope I stumble on a bigger fish who isn't as smart? Adds a whole other level of the mind games with the fish.
Yeah. You're trying to make those casts, super long casts, close enough to where it can see from underneath its rock, but not so close to where it'll kind of see it land. And then the wind picks it up a little bit, and just the whole thing splashes right in front, like you've thrown a cable out there. It's like, oh, well, that fish is educated now. But yeah, it is kind of fun just when you have that back casting room to just make those super long casts, lay it down, and just watch them make their move. And I would imagine that that's kind of similar to like fishing on the flats or something for bonefish. So that would be super cool. But yeah, that was fun. We only fished it for, probably hour and a half or so, because then we had to hike back and all the way out because there's so many mosquitoes.
And it was getting so smoky, actually, too.
I was a little bit paranoid when we first really started smelling the smoke because the wind changed. Like, some of those fires just really start moving. And if you get a good amount of wind, you think, gosh, what if we're back here, and what if the thing is really moving?
Planes kept flying overhead. That's what...
Yeah.
But it was in Montana or something.
Yeah.
Far away.
Yeah, the planes, that was a weird thing. But then we saw like two groups of people that were coming out, and they didn't seem to care at all about anything except for getting out there. So
yeah, super cool.
Yeah. What about like camping excursion trip that may or may not have been a hunt? So we got your mule deer, we got your big trout, but kind of the Kenai River fishing. We got my blacktail, and we got probably the golden fishing / Kenai for the fish. What about like camping experience?
I mean, I like boat camping because it's easy. There's no work involved except for maybe hauling crab pots, putting your cooker on shore. But I mean, that's fun, and it's fun to just island hop and just kind of see where your day takes you, not really have an agenda.
Yeah. That was super cool and low key, and having steak and then crab that we caught on the beach, like that was, and that was such a clutch decision on your part when we were trying to gauge the tide. So that was when we went out with our friends Rob and Mandy. We took their boat out and set some crab pots and just kind of cruised around to these different islands, island hopping, and then dropped off the stuff at shore, made camp, made a big fire, Cooked the crab with the crab cooker, and then just had a feast on the shore. Beautiful, warm evening, sunny.
Unreal sunset.
Yeah, unreal sunset. Hardly any. Actually, no. That one, we didn't have the crab cooker. The crab cooker was the second one when we were at the mooring buoy. The first one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, there
so
were
the
two.
second one though, because we also caught the fish on the second one.
We caught the fish on the first one. The first one was we caught the fish, because I was talking about the second one first, because that's the one we had the crab cooker. That was a lot of fun. But the first one was the best one, I think. That was right after the honeymoon. We got back, and I was wearing the Alaska Wild Project shirt, and that is when we did not have the crab cooker, but we caught the big fish beforehand. You got that huge ling. I got the nice halibut. Unbelievable sunset. And then as we're leaving this little protected area, we got slammed by some really big waves. They were all kind of funneling in. But the second time was when we were up Carroll Inlet.
And did we not fish that time?
We did not fish.
Why didn't we fish? What were we doing?
We were back in there a little bit, and so we didn't try for halibut or anything like that. We were I don't know if we were just kind of later. I don't know what that was, but maybe we just left later, and I don't know. But yeah,
but we went because we went back exploring. We were glassing up. We saw some mountain goats way back in there. Was that?
That's right. Yeah. That's it.
Okay, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, we just kind of explored Carroll. That was fun. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Beach camping. Rob and Mandy slept on their boat, either anchored up or on the mooring buoy, and then both times we went ashore. The first time we were fine on the tide. We made a good calculation based on where the seaweed was and the last high tide, and the high tide that night was supposed to be less than the last high tide, so we were good to go. But the second time we went out, it was a good thing we moved up, because we would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Hard to compare, but hiking down into Yellowstone.
Yeah, that's just such an unexpected experience, I think.
What do you mean unexpected?
Well, when you go to Yellowstone, you kind of have like there's going to be crowds, it's going to be hot, geothermal, just alien
Sulfury.
things.
Yeah.
But down in the canyon, it was just beautiful, isolated, just cool river canyon. A little bit of geothermal, but just not, I don't know, I guess I don't know what I was expecting, but it exceeded expectations.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be, the canyon part was going to be horrible, but there was a lot more hiking that was done at the rim.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty steep, but it wasn't, I don't know, it was easier than I thought. And I tend to do that. I psych myself out a little bit, and then when I end up doing it, it ends up being not as difficult as I thought, which I think it's kind of nice that way. That way I'm not, it's going to be no sweat, and it ends up being horrible. But caught some nice cutthroats.
Yeah, and
that was another thing. Like, how much further do you keep going? Do you keep going next bend, rather than a couple of those runs were just so good, and we were still having fish that were coming by. You know, is there a bigger one that's just waiting? Is it a matter of just making the right cast or changing color on the hoppers? But yeah, we went around quite a bit. But yeah, that was hopper fishing for cutthroats in Yellowstone, all by ourselves. The only people that we saw were people that hiked down for the day, because there was only, was it 3 campsites?
Yeah.
3 campsites. You had to reserve beforehand. You had to hang your stuff on a pole. There was a very specific spot where you could camp.
But we are the only ones down camping at any of the spots.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just amazing to be that isolated, that close to so many people. The traffic getting in, the traffic around everywhere else. The fire hole was not good fishing.
No.
Not impressive at all.
Which we should have known, because, were we there in July?
Yeah.
July, geothermal, hot, trout don't like that, so I think they were pretty sluggish on the bite.
We had a couple okay chances on the Madison River that flows out of the park it's just so wide, not super deep. It's hard to tell like where they would be holding. So we happened to see some fish and had a couple, almost a few chances, but super exposed. I'm sure it gets hammered. Every spot that we could like kind of pull out to fish, there was, obviously people had been there, and if they weren't swimming, they were fishing. So,
well, and you just have to wonder, like the week or maybe it was even a day or two after we left Yellowstone, they actually limited fishing to like the first 3 hours of the day or something because the water flows were so low and it was so hot that they didn't want people stressing out the fish populations when they were already stressed from the warm water. So you just have to wonder, how different is that fishing in a different year or at a different time of year? Like maybe when the Madison River is 6 inches higher, it's just on fire, but because it was so low, they had all gone wherever they go.
When Kurt and I were up there a couple of years ago, we didn't fish that part at all. I don't think. I think we fished. We fished between the lakes. That's where we got a guide, and they had a huge problem with the water that was being discharged from Hebgen. Did you see that? And like the between the lakes area between Quake Lake and Hebgen, like the water flows were down to almost nothing, so everything was drying up. So people and guides from all over the place were going there and like picking up fish and trying to put them in water and just trying to save them from that. I never like followed up and found out what the heck happened there, but that was, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago. So that's not good at all. So we fished that. We fished the Madison below Quake Lake, fire hole in the park, but we didn't fish that section of the Madison. It just didn't look like the water that we wanted to fish. Just wasn't doing it for us. And I guess Hebgen's got massive trout, but we didn't.
We ran into someone on the river when we were there who basically told us to go up to Hebgen, right?
Yeah.
He was like, I just came from there. My wife caught the biggest fish I've ever seen. Like, he was like, go right here. He was so psyched about it. He was probably telling everyone that he met, and we were like, okay, thank you.
Okay, man. Yeah, it's fun to meet people who are super excited about that. We saw that hunting this last year when we got up super early, got to the spot, and there was already a guy there. So, I'm going to go talk to him, see where he's going. And if he's not going to the same spot, then maybe we'll, if he's going right, then we'll go left. But talking to him, he's super excited. Yeah, I got this one yesterday. And he showed me a picture, and he's smoking a cigarette, and it's like 5:45 in the morning. Just, oh, dude, come on, man. And then he said there was 3 other guys that had gone, so like we ended up going somewhere else. But, yeah, some people are really helpful because they're just so excited that they had success, which then makes you in fishing, it can be a good thing. Hey, go to the spot. This is where the fish are hitting. I'm just being helpful. Versus with hunting, it's, oh, yeah, man, I got one over there. Well, do you go there or not? Because there was a buck there, and now it's dead.
Yeah.
Right? So, I don't know. But, yeah, it's hard to beat any of those. It was all pretty fun. So, 2020 is looking a little different. No Wyoming for us.
No.
I'll be sad. I was texting Jaden a little bit today. He was asking if we were coming down, so just going to buy points. I think I'll have 2 mule deer, 4 elk after this year, after 2022.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to spend $1,000 on an elk tag, we're getting a good one.
Yeah, I saw one that you could draw with 1 or 2, but it was just this random piece, and it was mostly private, and it did not look good. I was really happy with the low point mule deer one that I got, and then you went on the general. That was a lot of fun for like the first mule deer.
For sure.
It'll be a little bit sad to not have that summer there. It was fun to drive around, check out stuff. I'll miss the bighorns a little bit, but hopefully things go well. Like we're hopefully going to be building a house.
Yeah.
It looks like we're going to be, but I don't want to jinx it. There's so many things that can still go wrong.
Yeah.
So that'll be taking up a lot of time. So it'll be mostly stuff in here in Southeast, and then maybe if things are good, then Ryan and I will head up north for a caribou hunt.
Yeah, if building supplies don't go up too much.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a balance. We had incredible interest rate But then the building supply stuff, who knows what that's going to be. But
Who knows if we'll have a toilet in our house or not by the time that rolls around.
urinal or just a pan. We can go old school, honey buckets, right? That'll be
Yeah. Well,
be fun.
we're going to have to plumb them in, right? So it'll be something.
Plug in the... Oh, yeah.
Because we'll do the plumbing,
Yeah.
when we're... Yeah, I don't know about houses,
I thought you were talking about plumbing in a honey bucket. The whole point is to not have it. Just have the bucket.
The plumbing gets done before...
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways,
anyway.
I'm showing my ignorance about how houses are made.
Oh, when we were talking to our loan officer today, is that what she is, loan officer? It sounds
Something
legal.
bank lady.
Yeah, I don't know if bank lady or loan officer. Loan officer sounds like a loan shark or something bad. Anyway, when I sent the drawings, like I drew them, not like with a crayon, but like with this program. Like I don't know if this is what a house is supposed to look like, and it's not really creative at all, just squares and rectangles.
But we're trying to act like we've been here before.
Yeah. And then it ends up, it's cool. It's definitely a house I'd want to live in.
Yeah. I think it looks legit.
Yeah. So hopefully that all works out. And that'll be fun. It's going to be unbelievably stressful, I'm sure, at times. But at the same time, it'll be sweet. I think everybody wants to design and build their own house. And so we'll be involved with both of those things. And then when we have some time, do some fishing and hunting and camping. And hopefully Jaden's coming up for some blacktail in the beginning of the year. And there's a spot that I've always wanted to go to. I haven't gone there. And I really want to go. So I'm excited for...
Do I even know this spot?
You will.
Okay.
But you haven't been there.
It's a secret spot.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think once I got the boat, I was just looking for spots that involve the boat.
Okay, don't say too much.
And so, well, I mean, this one's you can still access with boat. But I was just looking for different spots to access with the boat. So, Deer Mountain is the mountain that I want to go up because it's got the name.
Hey, we saw someone carrying a buck off there last time we were up.
Yeah. And then someone got $3 up at the Carolina trail.
Someone that you know?
No, I saw the post though. It was funny because Ryan was talking about how he glassed up when he was scouting. He's like, yeah, okay. There's at least one. There's two forkies and it looks like a 3-point. I said it was a 4-point. He's like, how do you know? I said this kid shot 3 bucks that were with each other. And he's like, no way. And I screenshotted the Facebook post. And I was like, are these them? He's like, dude, no. He was all excited. I got a spot I want to go to. And I scouted it out. And then ruined.
Funny.
Yeah. But, yeah, so that's a spot that I'm really excited. It's going to take some work and probably a lot more work than really needs to be on an opener. But, yeah, it's going to be sweet to get back there.
I kind of almost think you should convince Shane to come up for Prince of Wales season. I don't know, maybe that's too late because the stuff down there starts.
Yeah, well, that's when Ryan and I might be headed north, 15th.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, yeah. Yeah, that was kind of a disappointing season that we had there, or that trip up that...
I mean, we hunted one day.
we saw Prince of Wales stuff, though. I mean, you go hunting on Prince of Wales, you get to the Alpine, you expect to see bucks, and we saw bucks.
Yeah.
And
But
we
I mean,
also saw other hunters taking off those
Yeah.
bucks off the mountain,
Yeah.
but there were some other live ones, and there were 4 bucks shot on that mountain that day. Those 2 guys shot 2 of them at least full of just holes. Pop is just war zone.
But if we were really on Prince of Wales to kill bucks, like we would have seen them shoot those bucks, we would have hiked off that mountain and gone somewhere else and shot some bucks, right? Like
That's what you hope. I mean,
if we had more time.
That's the rumor. That's the reputation. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've never killed a buck on Prince of Wales, so I'm overconfident in the extreme.
I just think those encounters are becoming much more prevalent because it's on. People have talked about it. People have filmed stuff, and if people don't know any better, it's like, oh, I want to hunt. I want to hunt, and then you hear or you see footage. You see Steve Rinella or Jim Bachtel and Randy Newberg. All of a sudden, Prince of Wales gets on the map, And
Well-
then, well, how can you'll fly out to this lake and you hunt the alpine versus, well, I can't do a fly out, so I'll do a DIY. And then you got locals and you got catch can people. There's just, and then based on some tough winters, I know all the blame usually goes to wolves, but winter kill is a real thing too. And there were a couple of really bad winters a couple of years ago, or within the life cycle that we're seeing the results of that potentially. So, it's just a lot of the access, the easy access to some of these alpine areas. Just people know where they're at, and you're just getting a lot more people in your spot.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we did go to probably the most accessible spot from Klawock, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, maybe, and Don tried to talk us out of that spot for that reason.
But he also said, if you want to see bucks, like, there's plenty of mountain, there's this. And so we ended up going there. The two other places, he kind of talked himself out of that just as much.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the issue. Like there's some really good options, and they're all kind of tied for, and that one could be good because it's like in plain sight. The locals had 3 weeks to hunt that before. Because if you're federally qualified, you can hunt it the week before the season starts. So you get the last week of July, plus you get the first 2 weeks of August on federal land.
Teresa was also saying though that like the previous 10 days had been so cloudy that probably none of the locals had really been able to hunt.
Yeah.
So if someone didn't get out in the first week, then they're going to be itching to get out.
Yeah.
But
so it was.
I just think that Prince of Wales has a lot more places to hunt on the road system than we do here.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And so that's why people like to go there.
Oh, yeah. We have no road system here to hunt. But yeah, there's a lot of different mountains. The 3 different spots that we were looking at going were all, and there's tons. You just keep driving. Yeah. The roads are in much better shape, and you got stuff. And if you want to stop in Kaufman Cove or Thorn Bay, you can get gas, you can get some food, and a lot of good quality jumping off spots.
Yeah, and all those places that, well, I don't know about where Ranella hunts, but like the places where Randy Newberg hunts, where he's just seeing these crazy deer. I mean, those are all boat in, fly in. Those are not on the road system. That's like that's another level of getting into untouched territory there.
Yeah, and not to be one of those like, ooh, I know where he is, but like where Ranella hunts. It's pretty easy. Some of the pictures that he has on there, like you can tell exactly where.
Well,
he
he never gets big bucks anyways, so no one's trying to hunt where he's hunting.
No, it is kind of crazy. And when you look at where his shack is, you're like, oh yeah, that's why there's no big bucks there. But how is there not some just massive thing in the timber? Like he doesn't hunt that more iconic Prince of Wales alpine areas, but there's got to be some big bucks down in that brush. Like some of that stuff is great for it's more like broken up rather than just super open. But I'm gonna always check sometimes just to see if his cabin is on X yet, if they've put the name for it, if it
Meat Eater Trust.
yeah.
LLC.
LLC. Yeah. There's definitely some fly out spots that would be just fantastic to go to. Nope. It's just this whole little collection of cabins that have no names, no little red lines around.
Maybe he doesn't actually own them. He's just squatting.
Ooh, the fishing shack. No, like, and that's cool. Like it's been, it's cool to see the home island on there, and I'm a huge fan of. He makes some great stuff. You can tell that he's a writer, and the show is unique. The show is thought out. He's never one of those. I don't know, just kind of that self-promoting 90s TV show gross. So
yeah, well, and Onyx kind of freaks me out sometimes that you can. I mean, if I was a famous person, Or like even a famous hunter where someone might be mad that you're hunting or whatever. I would not want my address on there because anyone could just spend enough time to find where you live. And then, I mean, I don't know, maybe they just send hate mail, but it's just like kind of scary to know that people know where you live.
Yeah, well, I mean, you used to have like your name and phone number in the phone book unless you didn't want it listed, and then property that you own is public record anyway. But yeah, I think it would probably be different looking it up on public record. Like you can go on the borough website and you can look around at whoever owns stuff. But yeah, that is, I don't know if you had some sadistic person that was on X trying to stalk someone. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but there's some other areas that just fantastic hunting, and you talk about traffic in certain areas, but there are some areas that just do not get the pressure when who was it that anyway, yeah. So yeah, there's some great opportunities to get out, just as we saw with that huge buck that I got this year. Just an awesome spot. And there were two nice ones with it. So yeah. We'll see what happens this year. Plenty of good stuff to look forward to, and hopefully you can get out for some steelhead in the next little bit.
That'd be awesome. Convince Rob to go to Fish Creek, maybe.
Yeah. Head down there, check that out. I've never been there.
Yeah.
When you live out north, you always kind of go the out north options, and then I spend a lot of time, probably more time than I want to, at fishing in town. Just a different.
Yeah, I mean, you catch them, so.
Yeah. Well, it's almost 6 o'clock. Or it's past 6 o'clock, 6:03. It's time for some.
Gotta make dinner.
Time for some dinner. Time for some Italian venison sausage pasta.
Yep.
A little salty, but good.
Yeah, we went, last time we didn't season the sausage enough, so we made sure that we'd over-season it this time.
Perfect. So that's it for this episode. Make sure you check out the mediocrealaskan.com. You can order the book at Parnassus or on Amazon. You can pick it up at Parnassus and Ketchikan, at Hearthside Books in Juneau, or at Fireside Books in Juneau. And got 2 more episodes to close out the year, and then the last week I'll have 2 episodes, kind of the best of. So that'll be the schedule, and then I might transition back to a 1 per week, just because it's not hot and heavy with a lot of stuff going on, and so rather than have redundant stuff. But we'll see. So I might go back in January to 1 a week, maybe 1 a week on Wednesdays. But so that's what's coming. Thanks for listening. Appreciate the support. If you could go online and hit the
5
star.
stars.
Yeah, I should have started with that. Go right now. 5-star it.
Yeah, everyone has turned it off by now.
Crush the 5-star button. Yeah, they're already done. As soon as I was like, well, that'll do it. It's over.
Yep. If you do, screenshot it, send us a picture. We'll send you a sticker.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Send you a sticker. Maybe even 2 stickers if you're still listening.
4 stars, we'll still send you a sticker.
4 stars, still get you a sticker. Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening.